The crosswalk buzzed with midday chaos, horns blaring, pedestrians weaving through the crowd. My younger sister Emily and I stood at the edge, waiting for the light to turn green. Her eyes darted toward me, sharp and calculating, a look I'd seen too many times growing up. Before I could question it, a screech of tires pierced the air. A sleek and black car barreled toward us, its driver lost in a haze of speed. My heart lurched, but Emily moved faster. With a forceful shove, she sent me stumbling back to the curb. Then, in a blur of defiance, she flung herself into the car's path. The impact was deafening. Blood sprayed across the pavement, a crimson arc that glistened under the noon sun. Emily crumpled, her body twisted at an unnatural angle, yet her lips curled into a triumphant grin, teeth clenched against the pain. The crowd gasped, some screaming, others frozen in horror. I stood rooted, my breath shallow, as her gaze locked onto mine. Proud, almost mocking. My mind reeled, struggling to process the scene. This wasn't right. I knew this moment, this exact day, because I had lived it before. In my previous life, I lay broken on that asphalt. Emily had pushed me into the car's path, her envy over my small shop's success driving her to ruin me. The accident stole my legs, chaining me to a wheelchair for life. As my consciousness faded, her vicious smile had been my last memory. But now I was whole, standing, alive, reborn to this day. The realization hit like a tidal wave. I'd been given a second chance. But why was Emily, bloodied and grinning, taking my place? A flicker of memory surfaced, unbidden. Months ago, in that other life, I'd lain in a hospital bed, my stumps bandaged, the pain a dull roar. The room had darkened, and a faint light pulsed above me, not from any bulb. A soft and otherworldly voice whispered, "You'll get another chance. Use it wisely." I'd thought it a dream, a delusion born of morphine and grief. But now, standing here, I knew it was real. Fate, or something beyond, had pulled me back. And somehow, Emily had been pulled back too. Her grin widened, blood trickling from her mouth as paramedics rushed to her side. The crowd murmured, some dialing emergency services, others backing away from the carnage. I forced my legs to move, kneeling beside her, my hands trembling. "Why, Emily?" I whispered, my voice barely audible over the sirens. Her eyes gleamed with a feverish intensity. "This time, it's mine," she rasped. "The life you had. Vincent. All of it." Her words were a knife to my gut. Vincent, the CEO of Whitmore Group, the man who'd married me in that other life, showering me with wealth, before revealing his monstrous truth. It clicked then, her reckless act. In her previous life, Emily had seethed with jealousy, watching my rise from cripple to high society wife via social media's glossy lens. She'd been fired from her job, her dreams of glamour crumbling, while my shop's success, and later Vincent's proposal, became her obsession. She must have believed my disability was the key to his heart, the price of his love. Reborn, she'd gambled everything, throwing herself into the car to steal that fate. She didn't know the horror she was chasing. I stood, my knees weak, as the ambulance doors slammed shut, whisking Emily away. The light turned green, but I couldn't move. Bystanders whispered, their words a dull hum. "Is she crazy? Who runs toward a car?" Poor girl, so brave. Brave? No. Calculated. Emily had always been cunning, her envy a fire that burned brighter than any love she claimed for me. In our childhood, she'd taken the bike, the new clothes, and the praise while I walked in her shadow, wearing cousins' cast-offs. She'd taken the accident meant for me, thinking it a golden ticket. My phone buzzed in my pocket, snapping me back. A text from my restaurant's manager. "Lunch rush is nuts. Need you." I exhaled, grounding myself. That shop, my pride and joy, was still mine in this life. I wouldn't let Emily's schemes or the ghosts of my past destroy it. But questions gnawed at me. How had we both been reborn? Was that voice, that light, a gift or a curse? And what did Emily's grin mean for the future? As I turned toward the restaurant, a chill ran through me. Vincent's face flashed in my mind, his gentle smile hiding a predator's hunger. Emily thought she'd won, but stepped into a trap I'd barely escaped. The gears of fate were turning, and I'd be damned if I let them crush me again. This time, I'd fight, not just for survival, but for freedom. Antiseptic scent stung my nose as I sat in my restaurant's back office, and the lunch rush's clamor was a distant hum. My hands gripped a coffee mug, still warm, but my mind was elsewhere, trapped in the past life I'd left behind. The crosswalk accident from yesterday, where Emily threw herself into the car's path, had ripped open memories I'd buried deep. In that other life, it was me who'd been broken, my legs crushed, my future stolen. And it was Emily, my sister, who'd orchestrated it all. That day, 2 years ago in my previous timeline, the crosswalk had been just as chaotic. Emily, fired from her job for laziness, had begged to work at my small home-style restaurant in College Town. I refused, knowing her carelessness would tank the business I'd built with every penny I'd scraped together. Her tears came fast, a performance honed from childhood. "Belle, I want to help," she sobbed, clinging to me. Then, as the car sped toward us, her grip tightened. Not to save, but to shove. My body flew, slamming into the asphalt. Pain seared through me, a fire that consumed everything. As my vision blurred, Emily's vicious, triumphant smile burned into my soul. She played the grieving sister perfectly, wailing to bystanders, "Help my sister." My phone was in my pocket, but she ignored it, begging strangers to call 911 instead. The delay cost me. By the time paramedics arrived, my legs were beyond saving. In the hospital, I woke to a nightmare. Both legs were amputated, leaving only stubs above the knees. The pain was relentless, but the betrayal cut deeper. My parents, Charles and Margaret, didn't visit. A nurse, Clara, with kind eyes and a soft voice, became my only companion. "You're stronger than this," she'd whisper, checking my chart. Her words were a lifeline, though I couldn't yet believe them. I learned later that Emily had spun a tale of my clumsiness to the police, pocketing the accident's compensation money with our parents. They'd jetted off to a beach resort, leaving me to pay hospital bills with the meager savings I'd hidden in a secret account. Clara, outraged, muttered about their cruelty, but I stayed silent, numb. The favoritism wasn't new. Growing up, Emily got the shiny bike. I walked to school. She wore new dresses. I got my cousin's oversized hand-me-downs. They enrolled her in dance and piano while I scrounged for secondhand books. Their love was a currency, and Emily was the only one they spent it on. Yet, from that wreckage, a miracle seemed to rise. 6 months after the accident, I met Vincent Whitmore, the CEO of Whitmore Group, at a charity event for disabled youth. He was charming, his deep voice and gentle smile disarming. "You're remarkable, Belle," he said, his eyes lingering on my wheelchair. He courted me with lavish gifts, silk scarves, diamond earrings, things I'd never dreamed of. Within a year, we married, and I moved into his mansion, a world of chandeliers and private chefs. The media called it a fairy tale. The disabled girl turned society queen. Emily, though, seethed. She'd stalk my social media, her comments dripping with venom. "You don't deserve this." Her envy was a living thing gnawing at her. I thought Vincent's love was my salvation, a shield against my family's betrayal. But his affection hid a darkness I'd only later uncover, a twisted obsession that would shatter me. In those early days, though, his attention felt like a lifeline. One evening, alone in the hospital before Vincent, I'd stared at my bandaged stumps under the blood-red sunset. Grief choked me, tears falling unchecked. Clara found me, her hand warm on my shoulder. "You'll find a way through," she said. "Please write it down and let it out." I started journaling that night, scribbling my pain, my rage. Those pages became my first step toward healing, a quiet rebellion against despair. In this reborn life, I sat in my restaurant, the journal habit still with me. I pulled a notebook from my bag, its edges worn, and wrote, "Emily took the accident this time. She wants Vincent, the life she thinks I had. She doesn't know the cost." The pen trembled, but I steadied it. Clara's words echoed. "You're stronger than this." I'd lost her in this timeline, but her kindness lived in me. My restaurant, packed with customers, was proof of my fight. Emily thought she'd stolen my fate, but she'd only taken the poison. I closed the notebook, resolving to harden it. This life was mine to shape, and I wouldn't let her or Vincent break me again. The hospital corridor smelled bleach, its fluorescent lights buzzing like trapped flies. I stood outside Emily's room, my stomach knotting as reporters' voices spilled through the cracked door. "A heroic sister," one gushed, "risking her life to save Belle." My fingers tightened around my phone, the screen glowing with notifications, news articles and social media posts praising Emily as a saint. She'd turned the accident into her stage, and I was just a prop in her performance. I pushed the door open, steeling myself. Emily lay propped on pillows, her bandaged legs hidden under a blanket. Her face, pale but artfully made up, lit up for the cameras. "I just couldn't let my sister get hurt," she said, voice trembling with practiced emotion. The reporters ate it up, scribbling notes, their flashes blinding. Our eyes met, and her lips twitched. Not a smile, but a challenge. She leaned forward, whispering so only I could hear. "This time, I'll have it all. Fame, fortune, Vincent." Her words were a blade, sharp and deliberate. I understood her game now. In her past life, Emily had been a nobody, fired from job after job, her dreams of luxury fueled by Instagram glimpses of my life with Vincent. She'd scroll through photos of me in ball gowns, Vincent's arm around my wheelchair, and seethe. To her, my disability wasn't a tragedy. It was the golden ticket to his wealth, his world. Reborn, she'd thrown herself into that car, betting her legs for a shot at my old life. She didn't know the monster she was chasing, but I did. Pity flickered in me, but I smothered it. She'd made her choice. I turned to leave, but a reporter blocked my path. "Belle, how do you feel about your sister's sacrifice?" His mic hovered like a vulture. I forced a smile, my voice steady. "I'm grateful she's alive. If you'll excuse me, I have a business to run." I slipped past, ignoring Emily's sharp intake of breath. Let her bask in her spotlight. I had my fight. My restaurant, a cozy haven in college town, was my lifeline, and it was calling. The lunch rush hit hard. Tables overflowed with students and locals, the air thick with the scent of sizzling burgers and fresh coffee. I tied on an apron, joining my staff in the chaos. Lena, my waitress, and newfound friend grinned as she balanced plates. "You okay, boss?" I saw the news about Emily. I nodded, flipping a patty. "She's playing her part. I'm playing mine." Lena's eyes softened, but she didn't push. Like Clara's in my past life, her quiet support grounded me. I stole moments to jot between orders in my journal, tucked behind the counter. Emily thinks she's won, but is blind to Vincent's truth. I won't let her drag me down. Writing was my anchor, a habit born in that hospital bed 2 years ago. Each word chipped away at the pain of my past. Emily's betrayal, my parents' neglect, Vincent's looming shadow. Lena caught me writing once, peeking over my shoulder. "You're tougher than you look," she said, squeezing my arm. I laughed, the sound lighter than I'd expected. Maybe she was right. Emily's media circus grew. Hashtags like #heroic_sister trended, and her face was plastered across every platform. Donations poured in for her recovery, charities calling her an angel. At home, my parents fawned over her, their voices dripping with pride. "Emily's a star now," my mom cooed, ignoring me as I grabbed my keys. My dad, silent as ever, didn't meet my eyes. Their favoritism stung, but I'd grown calluses over those wounds. I'd learned young that their love was Emily's birthright, not mine. One evening, I stayed late at the restaurant, scrubbing counters as the last customers left. Lena lingered, wiping tables. She said you don't talk much about your family, and her tone was gentle. I paused, the rag dripping in my hand. "They chose Emily long ago." "I chose myself." She nodded, understanding without judgment. "Well, you've got us now. This place, these people. We're your family, too." Her words warmed me, a small spark against the cold of my past. I smiled, tucking my journal away. Emily's whisper echoed in my mind. Vincent. She thought he was her prize, the key to the life she'd coveted. In my previous life, he'd found me 6 months after the accident, his charm a balm before it turned to poison. Emily was angling for that meeting, and her hospital bed was her bait. Let her try. I knew the truth. Vincent's love was a trap, his mansion a cage. My restaurant, my staff, my journal, they were my freedom. As I locked up, the neon sign flickered above the door, casting a glow on the empty street. This was my stage, and I'd fight to keep it. The restaurant's kitchen hummed, steam rising from pots as I diced onions, the rhythm grounding me. But my thoughts kept slipping to Vincent Whitmore, the man Emily now chased with blind ambition. Her hospital bed whispers, Vincent, fame, fortune, had stirred memories I'd fought to bury. In my previous life, Vincent had been my savior, then my tormentor. His shadow loomed over this reborn timeline, a specter I couldn't outrun. I set the knife down, my hands steady but my pulse racing, and let the past flood back. 2 years ago, after the accident that took my legs, Vincent found me at a charity gala. His tailored suit and warm smile disarmed me, starkly contrasting my parents' neglect. "You're extraordinary, Belle," he said, his gaze lingering on my wheelchair. He courted me with roses, private dinners, and promises of a life beyond my pain. Starved for love, I fell hard. We married within a year, my wheelchair gliding down the aisle under a canopy of orchids. The media swooned, calling it a Cinderella story. I believed it too, until the mask fell. Before his CEO days, Vincent, a medical major, hid a grotesque obsession. On our wedding morning, I woke in our opulent suite, sunlight streaming through silk curtains. My arms were bound to the bed, my lower body numb from the accident's lingering damage. Vincent stood over me, his smile tender, but his eyes feverish. "You're perfect, Belle," he murmured, holding a scalpel that gleamed like ice. My breath caught as he injected anesthetic into my thigh's stump, his gloved hands caressing the scarred flesh. Then, with surgical precision, he sliced a thin strip of skin, placing it on a porcelain plate. Terror choked me, but I couldn't scream. My lips bled from biting them, my mind screaming, "Freak!" As he carried the plate to the kitchen, the sizzle of meat in oil filled the air, a sound that haunted my nightmares. He returned with a steaming dish, my flesh cooked with chilling care. "Doesn't it smell divine?" he asked, cutting a piece and eating it elegantly. I retched, bile burning my throat as he savored it, his eyes alight with twisted love. "I want to be one with you," he said, as if it were romantic. That moment defined our marriage. Vincent's fetish for mutilated bodies, especially the tender regrowth around amputations, kept me prisoner. His public persona, the devoted husband, was a lie. Behind closed doors, he'd carve me, cook me, his tenderness a mockery. I lived in a gilded cage, my freedom traded for luxury I never wanted. Watching from afar, Emily saw only the wealth, her envy blinding her to the truth. She'd taunt me online, oblivious to the horror I endured. One night, alone in our mansion, I found my old journal in a drawer. Clara's voice, "Write it down, let it out," echoed from my hospital days. I scribbled, "He's a monster, but I'm still here. I'll survive this." The writing was defiance, a spark of the strength Clara had seen in me. I began planning an escape, but Emily's final act came first. On my 27th birthday, she snuck into my party, disguised as a server. Her knife plunged into my heart, her laugh wild as I bled out. "This should have been mine," she hissed. She fled, only to fall from the rooftop, her end swift. Now, in this life, I wiped my hands on my apron, the kitchen's warmth pulling me back. Lena, stacking plates nearby, noticed my silence. "She said you look like you've seen a ghost," her brow creasing. I forced a smile. "Just old memories." She hesitated, then touched my shoulder. "You don't have to carry them alone, Belle." Her kindness, like Clara's, softened the edges of my fear. I nodded, grateful for this new family I was building, piece by piece. Emily's pursuit of Vincent was a ticking bomb. She thought his love was her ticket to glory, not knowing each step took her closer to his scalpel. My journal lay in my bag, a silent ally. Last night I wrote that she wants his world, but I know its price. I'll protect what's mine. The restaurant, my staff, this life, they were my sanctuary. Vincent's shadow might linger, but I was no longer his prey. I picked up the knife, resuming my work, each chop's a vow. I'd never be caged again. The restaurant pulsed with life, its windows steaming from the heat of packed tables and sizzling grills. Laughter and clinking glasses filled the air, contrasting the hospital's sterile chill where Emily played her heroic charade. I moved through the chaos, delivering plates of crispy fries and burgers, my apron streaked with grease. This place, my home-style haven in college town, was my rebellion against the past. A past where Emily's betrayal and Vincent's horrors had nearly broken me. Here, I was rebuilding, one meal at a time. 2 weeks had passed since Emily's accident, her media spotlight burning brighter each day. Social media hailed her as an angel, while I faded into her shadow, just as I had in childhood. But I didn't care. This life was mine to shape, and the restaurant was my proof. I'd quit my office job years ago, pouring every cent into this dream. In my previous life, Emily and our parents had sold it out from under me while I lay hospitalized. Now I guarded it fiercely, using skills honed from observing high-end venues in Vincent's world. Strategic marketing, warm service, and a menu that felt like home. Lena, my waitress and friend, weaved through the crowd, her ponytail bouncing as she refilled coffees. "You're a machine, Belle," she teased, nudging me. "Ever take a break?" I grinned, wiping sweat from my brow. Breaks are for people without dreams. She laughed, but her eyes held a knowing warmth like she saw the weight I carried. Lena had become my anchor. Her easy kindness was a lifeline in this reborn timeline. Last night, closing up, she'd caught me staring at my phone. Another article about Emily. "You're not her," Lena had said. "You're building something real." Her words stuck. After the rush, I slipped into the back office, pulling out my journal. The habit, born in that hospital bed under Clara's guidance, was my sanctuary. I wrote Emily chase Vincent's poison, but I'm free. This restaurant, these people, they're my strength. The pen moved faster, spilling fears I rarely voiced. Vincent's scalpel, Emily's knife, and my parents' cold eyes. Writing didn't erase the pain, but gave it shape, something I could face. Each page was a step toward healing, a quiet victory over the ghosts of my past. The door creaked and Lena poked her head in. "You okay? It looks like you were in another world out there." I closed the journal, smiling faintly. "I'm just sorting through some baggage." She leaned against the desk, her voice soft. "You don't have to do it alone, you know. I'm here, and so's everyone else in this crazy kitchen." I swallowed, her words warming a part of me I'd thought long frozen. "Thanks, Lena. It means more than you know." She squeezed my shoulder, then dragged me back to the floor. "Come on, boss. We've got hungry college kids to feed." The evening shift brought a new energy. I tweaked the menu, adding a spicy chicken sandwich that drew cheers from regulars. Online reviews glowed, calling the place a hidden gem. I trained my staff, Lena, our cook Javier, the part-time dishwasher Sam, to treat every customer like family. Javier, a burly man with a soft spot for strays, slipped extra fries to a broke student, winking at me. "Your rules, Belle. No one leaves hungry." I nodded, pride swelling. This was my chosen family, built from sweat and heart, not blood and betrayal. But Vincent's shadow lingered. Emily's hospital stunt was her bid for his attention, and I knew he'd come for her soon. In my past life, he'd found me 6 months post-accident, drawn to my disability like a moth to a flame. Now, Emily was the bait, her legs mangled, her ambition blind. I pictured her smug whisper, "I'll have it all," and my grip tightened on a spatula. She didn't know the price of Vincent's love, but I did. My journal entry from dawn echoed, "I'll protect this life, no matter what." Lena and I scrubbed counters as we closed, the neon sign flickering outside. She hummed off-key, making me laugh, a sound I was relearning. "You ever think about the future, Belle?" she asked, rinsing a rag. I paused, the question catching me. I used to think I didn't have one. Now? I want this. More restaurants, more nights like tonight. She grinned. "You'll get it. You're unstoppable." Her faith bolstered mine, a shield against the fear creeping in. I locked up, the street quiet under the moonlight. My phone buzzed. A text from my mom. "Visit Emily. She needs you." I scoffed, deleting it. They'd always chosen her, but I picked myself. The restaurant's glow faded behind me, but its warmth stayed. Emily could chase Vincent's gilded cage. I was building an empire, brick by brick, and no one, not her, not Vincent, would tear it down. The restaurant buzzed with the dinner rush, plates clattering as the scent of roasted garlic and fresh bread filled the air. I navigated the crowded tables, a tray of iced teas balanced in my hands, my mind sharp despite the chaos. 3 months had passed since Emily's accident, her media halo fading, but her ambition burning hotter. She'd left the hospital, now Vincent Whitmore's fiancé, her social media flooded with photos of diamond rings and designer gowns. Each post was a taunt, a reminder of the life she thought she'd stolen from me. But I was done being her shadow. I had my restaurant, staff, and life. The door chimed, and a hush fell over the dining room. Emily rolled in, her smart wheelchair gleaming, a burly bodyguard at her side. Her makeup was flawless, but her eyes held a brittle edge, like glass about to crack. She scanned the room with disdain, then fixed on me. Belle purred, her voice loud enough to draw stares. Still slaving away in this greasy hole? A massive diamond sparkled on her finger, catching the light. Customers whispered, recognizing her from the news. My pulse quickened, but I kept my smile calm. "Welcome, Emily." "Table by the window?" She ignored the offer, gesturing for her bodyguard to push her to a prime spot. Lena, wiping a nearby table, shot me a wary glance. "Trouble?" she mouthed. I shook my head, but my gut tightened. Emily wasn't here for dinner. She was here to strike. I served her table, setting down a plate of our signature meatloaf. She poked at it, then gasped theatrically. "A hair!" she cried, holding up a black strand. The room stilled, forks pausing mid-bite. "This place is filthy." Her voice carried venomously as heads turned. I stepped closer, my expression calm. "Let's take a look." I pulled a disposable glove from my pocket, eyeing the hair. Jet black, unlike my staff's varied shades or Emily's chestnut waves. Her bodyguard shifted, his dark hair catching the light. "Funny," I said, loud enough for nearby tables to hear. "This doesn't match anyone in my kitchen. Should we send it for DNA testing?" "Hospitals do that now, cheap and fast." Emily's face froze, her fingers twitching. The bodyguard's eyes darted away, betraying his guilt. The crowd murmured, some pulling out phones to record. "Isn't she the hero sister?" a student whispered. "Doesn't look so heroic now," another replied. Emily's cheeks flushed, her plan unraveling. "Just a joke, sis," she stammered, forcing a laugh. "It's probably this useless bodyguard's fault." I leaned in, my voice low. "Next time, try a better script." I straightened, addressing the room. "Sorry for the drama, folks. Drinks on the house." Cheers erupted, and Emily's flush deepened. She signaled her bodyguard, who wheeled her out, her exit swift and humiliated. Lena sidled up, grinning. "You handled that like a pro. She thought she'd ruin you." I exhaled, the adrenaline fading. "She's been trying my whole life." Lena squeezed my arm. "She's no match for you, Belle." Her support, like a warm hearth, steadied me. I opened my journal in the office. The pages were a refuge. Emily came to break me, but I'm stronger than she thinks. Vincent's in her life now, her cage is closing. Writing grounded me, each word a brick in the wall between me and my past. Clara's hospital advice, "Let it out," still guided me, her kindness a ghost in these pages. I stopped by my parents' house to grab a jacket that night, dreading their usual neglect. The living room was lit, laughter spilling out. I froze in the doorway, my breath catching. Vincent sat at the table, adjusting a blanket over Emily's lap with chilling care, his fingers brushing her leg. Her face softened, mistaking his touch for love. My hands shook, a phantom pain stabbing where my legs once were. Memories of his scalpel, his kitchen, his twisted hunger. Our parents beamed, my mom gushing. "Mr. Whitmore's a catch, Emily." My dad nodded, eyes greedy, already counting Vincent's wealth. Vincent's gaze flicked to me mild but piercing, like a predator sizing up prey. "Belle," he said, his voice smooth. "Join us?" I shook my head, forcing a neutral tone. "I'm just passing through." Emily's eyes narrowed, a flicker of triumph. But I saw the cracks. Her tension, her fragility. She thought she'd won, but Vincent's gentle smile was the same one he'd worn before carving me. I retreated to my room, locked the door, and sank against it. My journal spilled open, and I wrote, "She's in his web now. I'm free, but for how long? Lena's text buzzed. "You good?" I smiled, typing back. Better than ever. Her friendship, my staff's loyalty, this restaurant, they were my armor. Emily's stunt had failed, and Vincent's presence, though chilling, was her burden now. I closed the journal, my resolve ironclad. Let Emily chase her false triumph. I was building something real. No one would take it from me. The grand ballroom sparkled under crystal chandeliers, white roses cascading from every corner. I stood at the edge, a bridesmaid in a pale lavender dress. My role a bitter twist of Emily's design. She'd insisted I witness her triumph. Her marriage to Vincent Whitmore, the man she thought she'd stolen from my past life. The crowd buzzed, reporters snapping photos of the wedding of the century, the brilliant CEO and his heroic disabled bride. Radiant in a hand-sewn gown, Emily rolled down the aisle in her ornate wheelchair, her smile dazzling. I clapped politely, my lips curling into a cold arc. She'd won nothing but a trap. 3 months had passed since her restaurant stunt, her failed attempt made to ruin me. My business thrived, reviews soaring, while Emily sank deeper into Vincent's world. I'd kept my distance, focusing on my restaurant and my chosen family, Lena, Javier, Sam. But Emily's invitation was a command. Her note smug. "Be there, sis. See what you lost. I came not to mourn, but to watch fate unfold." Vincent gazed at her in a tailored tux with that gentle smile I knew too well, the one hiding a predator's hunger. My stomach twisted, memories of his scalpel flashing. But I stood firm, my journal's latest entry echoing. She chose this. I'm free. The ceremony was a spectacle, vows exchanged under a golden arch. Reporters gushed, and hashtags like #Whitmore Wedding were trending. Emily's eyes flicked to me as Vincent slipped the ring on her finger, her expression a silent taunt. I met her gaze, unflinching, my face a mask. She thought this was her victory, her fairy tale. In my past life, this had been my wedding, the same roses and lies. I'd believed Vincent's love then, unaware of the horror waiting. Emily, blind to his truth, was stepping into my nightmare. After the vows, I slipped away to the hotel's bridal suite, where I'd been asked to help with post-ceremony logistics. Dawn broke, gray light filtering through heavy curtains. I hid behind a second-floor pillar, peering at the breakfast table below. Emily sat curled in her wheelchair, her gown crumpled, her face pale as Vincent set a plate before her. A single piece of meat steamed, its scent disturbingly familiar. My breath caught, knowing what it was. Her flesh, carved in the night's shadows. Vincent lifted a fork, placing the morsel in his mouth with refined grace. "Perfect," he murmured, eyes glinting. Emily's hands trembled, her eyes wide with dawning horror. She turned, retching violently, the bitter stench filling the air. "What the hell is wrong with you?" she choked, her voice raw. Vincent's smile vanished. "I'm not insane," he snapped, his hand cracking across her face. The slap echoed, Emily's head snapping back. "I love you too much." His tone was tender and obsessive, a chilling echo of my past. Emily clutched the table, tears streaming, her dream shattering. I watched, my heart cold. I thought, "Welcome to your blessing, Emily," my fingers grazing the journal in my purse. Lena's text buzzed. "You okay at that circus?" I typed back. "Better than the bride." Her reply, a heart emoji, warmed me. Lena, Javier, and the crew were my anchors, their support a shield against this grim spectacle. Last night before the wedding, I'd written in my journal that Emily was walking into his cage. I'm healing, step by step. Writing was my refuge, each page a release of Vincent's hold on me. Clara's hospital wisdom, let it out, had rooted deep, guiding me through this reborn life. Seeing Emily's terror, I felt no pity, only resolve. The guests had departed, oblivious to the horror unfolding in the suite. I moved silently, gathering my things to leave. Emily's sob carried up the stairs, broken and desperate. Vincent's voice followed, soft but menacing. "You understand, don't you, my love?" I paused, my hand on the door. In my past life, I'd been the one trembling under his gaze, his knife a constant threat. Now, Emily bore that weight, her ambition her undoing. My parents, no doubt fawning over Vincent's wealth somewhere, would offer her no escape. I stepped into the morning air, the city waking around me. My restaurant waited. Its neon sign was a beacon of my freedom. Lena would be there, prepping for lunch, and Javier would toss dough with a grin. They were my future, not this gilded prison. I pulled out my journal, scribbling a final note. She's his now. I'm building my empire, and no one will stop me. The weight of Vincent's shadow lifted slightly, my healing a quiet triumph. Emily's wedding was her doom, but mine was a life reclaimed. One I'd fight to keep. The restaurant's neon sign flickered as I locked up, the night air cool against my skin. Emily's wedding, 3 days ago, lingered like a dark cloud. Her pale face at the breakfast table, Vincent's slap, the meat that wasn't meat. I'd watched her world crack, her dream of luxury curdling into horror. My journal, tucked in my bag, held my thoughts. She's trapped, just as I was. But I'm not her savior. I'd built my own life, my restaurant, staff, and freedom, and fought to keep it. A text from my mom lit up my phone. "Come home, Emily's a mess." I scoffed, but duty pulled me. I knew what awaited. The house was a war zone. Shattered glass littered the living room floor, a vase's remnants glinting in the lamplight. Emily sat in her wheelchair, her eyes bloodshot and her designer skirt stained with wine. "I want a divorce," she screamed, her voice raw. My mom hovered, wringing her hands. "Calm down, sweetie, it's not that bad." My dad's face darkened, and his silence became louder. They'd tasted Vincent's wealth, his gift of a managerial job for Dad, and wouldn't let it go. I stood in the doorway, an outsider in my family, their favoritism a familiar sting. Mom spotted me. "Belle, thank God. Comfort your sister." Her tone was sharp, as if Emily's pain was my fault. I laughed, bitter and low. Comfort her? She ran into that marriage, eyes wide open. Emily's head snapped up, her gaze venomous. "You knew," she spat, wheeling toward me. "You knew Vincent was a monster." My mom gasped, but Dad cut in. "Enough, Emily. You're not throwing away this life." His greed was blatant, and Emily was just a pawn for their gain. I crossed my arms, unmoved. They'd never chosen me. Why should I save her? Mom shoved Emily's wheelchair closer. "Do your job as her sister." I stepped back, my voice cold. Her job was to steal my life. She's reaping what she sowed. Emily lunged, her hand swinging for my face. I caught her wrist, my grip firm, and slapped her cheek. Once, twice. The cracks echoed, her gasp sharp. "Vincent won't care," I said, my tone icy. "You're his buffet, Emily, a slab of meat for his fetish." Her eyes widened, real fear flickering. Mom shrieked, "How dare you!" But I held my ground, unyielding. I pulled my phone from my pocket, hitting record discreetly. "Repeat it, Emily." "Tell them about Vincent." Her voice trembled, but rage spilled out. "He eats people, Mom. He cut me, cooked it." Mom paled, but Dad scoffed. "You're hysterical. He's a billionaire, not a cannibal." Emily sobbed. "I want out. I'll divorce him, take half his fortune." I stopped the recording, slipping the phone back. That was my leverage, a weapon against her schemes. I'd learned from my past life that survival meant playing smarter, not harder. From yesterday's shift, Lena's voice echoed in my mind. "You're tougher than you look, Belle." She'd caught me scribbling in my journal, her grin softening the weight of Emily's wedding. I'd written then that I was done being their punching bag. This life is mine. Journaling, Clara's gift from that hospital bed, was my anchor. I'd add that Emily's trapped tonight, but I'm not. I'll protect my restaurant and my future. Each word was a step toward healing, a shield against the family that never loved me. I wheeled Emily to her room, her face red and swollen. She hissed, "I'll make you pay." I smirked, unfazed. "Try it. You're nothing to Vincent but a canvas." Her flinch was satisfaction enough. Mom followed, still ranting, but I cut her off. I recorded everything, her divorce plans, Vincent's truth. Touch my restaurant, and it goes to him. Their faces froze, greed warring with fear. I left them in silence, the door slamming behind me. Outside, the stars glittered, the city alive. My phone buzzed. "Lena." You survived the family drama? I typed and outsmarted them. Her reply, a thumbs up, made me smile. Lena, Javier, Sam, they were my real family, their loyalty a fortress. My restaurant thrived. Bookings were full and reviews were glowing. Emily's marriage was her cage, Vincent's shadow, her punishment. I walked toward the subway, the journal heavy in my bag. I was no victim. Not anymore. Let them scheme. I'd built an empire and burned the world before I let it fall. A crash shattered the restaurant's morning calm. I rushed to the window, heart pounding, to see a brick amid shattered glass. Graffiti scrawled on the sidewalk. Liar. My phone buzzed relentlessly, notifications flooding in. A video had gone viral. Emily, her face bare, but eyes shadowed with makeup, sobbing into a camera. My sisters hated me since we were kids. She wept, her voice breaking. She bullied me even after I saved her from that car. Comments exploded, vicious and accusing. Belle's a monster. Boycott her restaurant. My stomach sank, but I squared my shoulders. Emily's latest move was desperate, but I wasn't her victim. 2 weeks had passed since our confrontation, and her divorce threats were recorded on my phone. My restaurant thrived, bookings full, but Emily's marriage to Vincent was unraveling her. I'd seen her last post. Thinner, eyes hollow, still clinging to designer bags. Now she'd turned her pain into a weapon, smearing me to reclaim control. I called the police, my voice steady. I'm reporting property damage and online defamation. Someone's inciting harassment. The officer nodded, promising action, but the mob outside grew louder. Hurling trash at my storefront, Lena burst through the back door, her face flushed. Belle, it's a circus out there. You okay? I nodded, forcing a smile. Just another day with my sister. She grabbed a broom, sweeping glass with fierce determination. We've got your back. Me, Javier, Sam, this place is ours too. Her loyalty, like Clara's hospital kindness years ago, anchored me. I slipped into the office, pulling out my journal. Emily's lies are loud, but I'm louder. I'll fight for this. Writing was my refuge. Each word was a step toward healing the scars of Vincent's cage and Emily's betrayal. As I returned to the floor, my phone lit up with new alerts. The tide was shifting. Photos flooded online. Me, a child, kneeling outside our house, punished without food, my dad's hand striking my cheek as Emily laughed. Videos surfaced. Emily bullying me in school, teachers turning away. Testimonials from old neighbors and cousins exposed my parents' favoritism. Their love poured into Emily while I scraped by. The comments flipped. Emily's the liar. Belle's been through hell. I stared, stunned. Someone had orchestrated this counterattack, and only one person had that power. I dialed Vincent, my hand steady despite the chill in my veins. Why help me? I asked, no preamble. His voice was low, measured. You were always the ideal, Belle. Emily's a flawed copy, breaking under pressure. His words dripped with obsession, a twisted echo of the man who'd carved me. She's not you, he added, then hung up. I shivered, his motives clear. He saw me as his perfect muse, Emily a disposable imitation. His intervention wasn't kindness, it was control, a reminder of his reach. I'd use it, but I'd never owe him. Lena, wiping tables, caught my expression. What's up, boss? You look spooked. I exhaled, pocketing the phone. Just an old ghost, stirring trouble. She frowned but didn't push, instead handing me a coffee. Whatever it is, you're tougher. Look at this place, still standing. I smiled, her faith a balm. Javier called from the kitchen. Belle, we're low on buns, but I got a guy. Sam, scrubbing dishes, chimed in, and I'm not quitting no matter what. Their voices wove a net of support, my chosen family stronger than blood. By noon, the online mob had turned. Hashtags like #JusticeForBelle trended, and Emily's video was buried under an avalanche of truth. Customers trickled back, some apologizing, others praising our burgers. I comped a round of fries, my smile genuine. Later, alone, I opened my journal, pen flying. Emily tried to bury me, but Vincent's game backfired on her. I'm not his pawn. I'm my queen. Clara's words, "You're stronger than this," rang true. Each entry rebuilt me, piece by piece, from the wreckage of my past. The police called, confirming they'd traced the brick throwers. Hired thugs linked to an anonymous tipster. I didn't need to guess who. Vincent's shadow loomed, but I focused on the light. My restaurant, packed again. Lena's grin, Javier's banter. Emily's ploy had failed, and her lies were exposed. She'd thought she could break me, but I was forged in fire. Hers, Vincent's, my parents'. I closed the journal, standing taller. Let her scheme from her gilded cage. My empire was rising, and no one would topple it. Rain battered the restaurant's windows, a storm raging outside as I wiped down tables after closing. The chaos of Emily's defamation campaign had faded, my name cleared by an avalanche of truth orchestrated by Vincent. But his chilling words, "You're the ideal, Belle," still haunted me, a reminder of his twisted obsession. My phone buzzed with a news alert, and my breath caught. Whitmore Group CEO arrested in tax evasion scandal. I clicked, the headline unfolding a nightmare far darker than expected. Vincent's empire was crumbling, and Emily was breaking with it. The report detailed a police raid on Vincent's estate, initially for tax evasion, over $10 billion hidden in offshore accounts. But what they found was worse. Blood-soaked carpets, used syringes, and a scalpel embedded in Vincent's abdomen. Emily, curled in a corner, her mutilated legs bleeding, stared blankly at chunks of flesh on the floor. She'd stabbed him in a frenzied act, her mind shattered by months of his abuse. Paramedics rushed them to the hospital. Vincent, stabilized, now faced life in prison for tax evasion and assault. Emily, diagnosed with severe mental instability, was institutionalized, her vacant eyes a shadow of the sister who'd schemed against me. I sank into a chair, the news sinking in. Vincent, the monster who'd carved me in my past life, was caged. Emily, who'd chased his wealth, was lost to madness. My journal lay on the table, and I wrote, "They're gone, locked away, broken, I'm free." The words felt like a release, each stroke of the pen loosening the chains of my past. Clara's hospital voice echoed, "You're stronger than this." And for the first time, I believed it. Writing had been my lifeline, a way to face Vincent's horrors and Emily's betrayal without crumbling. Lena burst in, shaking the rain from her jacket. "Belle, you see the news? It's over." Her grin was infectious, but her eyes searched mine. "Are you holding up?" I nodded, closing the journal. "It's better than I thought." She hugged me, fierce and warm. "You're a damn warrior." Javier poked his head out from the kitchen, waving a spatula. "I heard the creeps locked up." "Good riddance." Sam, stacking dishes, added, "And we're still here, boss." Their voices wrapped around me, my chosen family a fortress against the storm outside. And within. My parents, though, wouldn't let go. With Vincent's wealth gone and Dad's job lost, they turned to me, their spare daughter. My phone rang as I swept the floor. "Mom," her voice syrupy. "Belle, we need to talk. Family sticks together." I laughed, cold and sharp. "Family? You chose Emily, always." She stammered, "We're struggling. You owe us." I cut her off. "Owe you? I built this life without you. You'll get your monthly check. Take it and leave." Her silence was heavy, but I hung up, unfazed. Their greed, their bias, had no power over me now. Later, alone in the office, I opened my journal again. They're ghosts now, all of them. Vincent, Emily, Mom, Dad. I'm not their victim. Writing was my ritual, a way to bury the pain of my past life. Vincent's scalpel, Emily's knife, my parents' neglect. Lena's hug, Javier's banter, Sam's loyalty. They were my present, my strength. I scribbled, I survived their fire. Now I build my light. The words felt final, a declaration of freedom. Clara's kindness, Lena's faith, and my staff's support carried me here to a life I'd fought for. The storm eased, rain softening to a drizzle. I stepped outside, locking the door, the neon sign glowing. A news update flashed. Vincent's trial was set, his conviction certain. Emily's institution photos showed a hollow shell, her ambition erased. My parents, jobless and shunned, faded into irrelevance. I breathed deep, the air clean, the weight of their shadows lifting. Lena's text buzzed. "Proud of you, boss." I smiled, pocketing the phone. The restaurant, my empire, stood firm. I'd faced the wicked and won, not with revenge, but with resilience. The restaurant's new location sparkled under soft lights, its grand opening in full swing. Tables overflowed with guests, locals, students, families, savoring plates of rosemary roasted chicken and warm cornbread. My chain had grown, now spanning 3 cities, each outlet a testament to my fight. 6 months had passed since Vincent's arrest, and Emily's institutionalization, their shadows fading like old scars. My parents, now ghosts in my life, sent desperate texts, but I ignored them. This was my world, built from sweat and heart, not their greed or betrayal. I moved through the crowd, greeting customers, my smile genuine. Lena, now my manager, orchestrated the staff with her usual flair, her laughter cutting through the din. "Belle, you're a legend," she called, balancing a tray of desserts. Javier, flipping burgers in the open kitchen, winked. "I told you we'd go big." Sam, promoted to assistant cook, grinned as he plated salads. They were my chosen family, their loyalty a balm against the past. My journal in my office held a recent entry. "Vincent's gone, Emily's lost, my parents are nothing. I'm building something that matters." My past life, Vincent's scalpel, Emily's knife, my parents' neglect, had forged me, but I was more than its wreckage. Inspired by Clara, the nurse who'd urged me to write, I'd found healing in my journal. Last night, I wrote that I was trapped in their storm, but now I hold umbrellas for others. That vision drove me. My restaurants offered jobs tailored for people with disabilities, servers with prosthetics, cooks in wheelchairs, and dishwashers with visual aids. Customers with disability IDs got half-price meals, and 5% of our profits funded special education programs. I'd been in that storm. I wanted to shield others. A young woman in a wheelchair approached, her smile shy. "I'm Mia," she said. "I got a job here because of you. It's my first real gig." I squeezed her hand. "You're family now, Mia." Her eyes shone, mirroring my quiet pride. Lena sidled up, nudging me. "You're changing lives, boss. It makes me proud to wear this apron." I laughed, the sound lighter than it had been in years. Clara's voice echoed, "You're stronger than this." And I felt it now. Not just in survival, but in purpose. The opening buzzed, and reviews were already glowing online. "Belle's Bistro, where everyone belongs," one read. But Vincent's shadow lingered a faint chill. A week ago, an unsigned bouquet of sunflowers had arrived at my central location. I knew his hand. His obsession hadn't died in prison. I'd tossed the flowers in the trash, my journal capturing the moment. His ghosts can't touch me. I'm not his muse anymore. Writing was my armor, each entry a brick in my new life. Lena had caught me that day frowning. "Creepy flowers? You okay?" I nodded. It is just a reminder I'm stronger than him. My parents tried again, their calls relentless. Mom's latest voicemail dripped with manipulation. "Belle, we're family. Please help us, or I can't go on." I deleted it, unfazed. Their favoritism, Emily's bike, dresses, and lessons, had left me empty-handed as a child. Now, their greed was their cage. I sent their monthly allowance, but there is nothing more. "They don't own me," I told Lena over coffee. She grinned. "Damn right. You're the queen of this empire." Javier, overhearing, raised a spatula. "To Queen Belle!" Sam clapped, and I laughed. Their warmth was my true home. As the night wound down, I stepped outside, the city humming under a starlit sky. My phone buzzed. Another review, 5 stars. "This place feels like family," it said. I smiled, pocketing the phone. My journal waited, and I'd write tonight. I've built more than restaurants. I've built hope. Clara's kindness, Lena's loyalty, Mia's gratitude. They were my legacy. Vincent's prison bars, Emily's padded walls, my parents' desperation. They were the past. I was no longer the girl who'd bled under their hands. I was Belle, the builder, the survivor, the light. The new restaurant glowed under a twilight sky, its sign, Belle's Bistro, blazing in neon blue. The out-of-state grand opening drew a crowd that spilled onto the sidewalk. their chatter mingling with the clink of glasses and the aroma of fresh-baked pies. I stood at the entrance, my heart full, watching guests savor dishes crafted with love. A year had passed since Vincent's arrest, Emily's institutionalization, and my parents' fall into obscurity. Their shadows, once suffocating, were now mere echoes, washed away by my hard-won freedom. Inside, the place hummed. Lena, now overseeing all locations, directed servers with a grin. "You did it, Belle," she called, her eyes bright. Operating. Manning the grill, Javier tossed a burger patty with flair, shouting, "Queen Belle's ruling the night!" Mia, the server with a wheelchair, glided past, balancing a tray, her smile radiant. Sam, now a full-time cook, plated desserts with precision. They were my family, forged in loyalty, not blood. Safe in my office, my journal held my truth. I've built a home, not just a business. The past is gone. The journey here wasn't a chance. That hospital light from my past life, the voice whispering, "You'll get another chance," had been fate's gift. Or perhaps its test. I'd used it to rewrite my story, turning pain into purpose. Emily's envy, Vincent's madness, my parents' greed. They'd shaped the girl who'd bled, but not the woman I'd become. My restaurants, now 5 strong, were havens for others like me. We hired people with disabilities, offered half-price meals to those with IDs, and donated profits to special education. I'd stood in the storm. Now, I held umbrellas for others. A local reporter approached Mike in hand. "Belle, your chain's a phenomenon." "What's the secret?" I smiled, voice steady. "It's about heart. Giving people a place to belong." Mia overheard, her nod warm. "You gave me that," she said later as we refilled drinks. Her words hit deep, a mirror to Clara's hospital kindness years ago. I'd written in my journal last night that Clara saw my strength. Mia sees my purpose. I'm healing, not just surviving. Each entry was a brick in my new life, laying the ghosts of Vincent's scalpel and Emily's knife to rest. My parents hadn't stopped trying. Mom's text begged a week ago. "We're family, Belle. Meet this nice man. Rich, connected." I'd laughed, deleting it. Their favoritism, Emily's dresses, lessons, her bike, had left me empty-handed as a child. Now, their desperation was their punishment. I sent their allowance, nothing more, and my reply was curt. "Don't call again." They were ghosts, irrelevant. Lena, catching me after that text, had raised a coffee mug. To cutting the dead weight, Javier and Sam had cheered, their laughter my anchor. As the night peaked, I stepped to the center, raising a glass. "To second chances," I said, my voice carrying. "To the staff who built this, the customers who believe in us, and the community we create." The crowd roared, glasses clinking. Lena hugged me, whispering, "You're a damn inspiration." Javier shouted, "Speech of the year!" Mia and Sam clapped, their faces glowing. I felt Clara's presence, her words, "You're stronger than this," woven into this moment. My journal would capture it later. I'm not just free, but whole. A final ghost lingered. Months ago, Vincent's trial had ended in a life sentence, his empire dust. Emily, locked in her mind's prison, was a faded memory. But that hospital light, that voice, it lingered, a mystery unsolved. Was it fate, a deity, or my own will? It didn't matter. It had given me this chance, and I'd seized it. I stepped outside, the stars bright above the city. My phone buzzed. A review. "Belle's Bistro is home." I smiled, pocketing it. The storm was over, and I was the light, shining for myself, Mia, and every soul I'd lifted.